Today we're going to be discussing some latest NHL trade rumors on disgruntled Oilers winger Jesse Puljujarvi, plus we have the latest free agent rumors on defenseman Jake Gardner, and a few quick updates on the Calgary Flames and the Minnesota Wild. We'll get into all the latest coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now we have a lot to cover in today's video, and I want to get started with a couple of quick hits. First of all, with the Calgary Flames. Now they've invited veteran defenseman Andrew Mcdonald, formerly of the Philadelphia Flyers, to training camp on a professional tryout. Now unfortunately for the Flames, they discovered that one of their young defensemen, Valimaki, is going to be out for a significant period of time after suffering a major injury during training during this offseason, and many wonder what they might do. And of course, they recently bought out Michael Stone not long before that happened as well, so now that blue line's a little bit depleted. Trade rumors kind of went away when they were talking about guys like Travis Hamonic and TJ Brody. We've heard a lot about likely Brody more so than Hamonic being moved this summer, but with the shortage now on the blue line, that suddenly would stop and likely wouldn't be happening now. And of course, if they do need to shed some salary, likely if they do make a move, would be forward Michael Frolik. But they've brought in Andrew Mcdonald. They do believe some of their other younger defensemen as well can maybe take some steps to fill the role as well. So obviously, it's probably a smart move. That way, they're not committed to a contract, trying to sort out their cap situation, free up some space. They're probably still looking at other options as well. But Andrew Mcdonald obviously played for a while with the Islanders. Has been with the Flyers for a long time. Really, unfortunately for him, was given a bad contract. So I know he's given a bad rap by the fans because he really didn't live up to the amount of money he was earning. But maybe in a smaller role for less salary, maybe things could work as a third pair type of player. Hard to say for sure, but either way, he'll be attending training camp with the Flames and seeing if he can earn himself a new contract for the coming year. Quick update on the Minnesota Wild. As we know, they've recently hired their new GM and his former NHL player and assistant GM with the Penguins, Bill Guerin. Now, Bill Guerin's made it known that one of his first moves is going to be going over to Russia to meet with their top prospect, Kirill Kaprizov. Obviously, he's been a player that's been in the Wild organization for some time. They've been trying to get him to come over to North America and play with them, but he's still playing in Russia as of now. So one of the first things he did was reach out to his agent, Dan Milstein, and try to book a time for him to travel over to Russia to meet with the young player to see what the future holds, to start building some confidence with Kaprizov around his vision for the team, where things are heading, to hopefully get him to come over as soon as possible. Obviously, he could be a big part of the team's future. They've been waiting for some time, and obviously the past regime here under Paul Fenton really didn't make any progress with that player and getting him to come over. So I guess we'll see here, but obviously Bill Guerin seems to be a pretty smart guy. He sees him as a big part of the team's future if he'll come over and play, and obviously made it a top priority to arrange a time to go meet with him. Obviously, we don't know when that's going to be here as of yet, but apparently the wheels are in motion. The request has been made with the agent to try to figure something out. So I guess we'll wait and see and hopefully have further updates once they actually have a chance to chat. Now, next up, I want to take a look at young forward Jesse Puljujarvi. Now, we've discussed many times throughout this offseason that he's really disgruntled with the Oilers, wants a fresh start, wants to be moved. Throughout this offseason, we've seen him make numerous comments to Finnish media being over in Finland for the summertime. He's made it clear he's not going back to Edmonton and wants a fresh start pretty much anywhere, and is really also willing to accept just about anything for a salary. His agents also said that it has nothing to do with money. He really doesn't care what he earns. He just wants an opportunity to play somewhere else and to prove himself all over again that he is a solid NHL player with a bright future. Now, many feel that a lot of the comments he's made, he kind of sounds a little bit entitled, kind of rubbing people the wrong way. And you know what? To a degree, there is obviously responsibility on the team and the player for their development, and many feel that he's been really stubborn and difficult to work with. So, from the Oilers' approach, it's not all on them for how things have gone, but I do think it's, the onus is on them as well. Based on how they've used them in playing time and whatnot. But either way, the latest talk here is that the Pittsburgh Penguins have shown interest, and they've had talks between the Oilers and the Pens about a potential trade, but things kind of stalled when the Oilers requested Brian Rust as the return piece from Pittsburgh to send Puljujarvi over to the Penguins. Now, it's not known if there was anything else involved with the trade or not, but apparently Rutherford and Holland have had discussions around it, and the Penguins kind of stopped when that request was made. Now, I guess at the same time, though, this would make sense if you take a look at the fact that the Pittsburgh Penguins need to shed some salary here because they still have RFA defenseman Marcus Pettersson, who they acquired from the Anaheim Ducks last year in exchange for Daniel Sprong. They seem quite pleased with him. Rutherford's made it known he'd like to sign Pettersson long term, but he needs to figure out the cap situation and make some room in order to make that happen. Now, I don't think Pettersson's in any kind of position to bargain for a big-time contract. Obviously, right now the Penguins don't really have any space to get anything done, so they do need to free up some room. Bringing in a guy like Puljujarvi would give them another player who's young and obviously would not cost a lot of money from the cap perspective, who might still have a lot of potential based on how he played when he was younger, and at times early in his time with the Oilers did show flashes of being really solid, but obviously inconsistent as well. So I do think there could be a potential fit there. For example, we also know that the Edmonton Oilers are really looking for a third-line center. They apparently were in on the Derek Brassard sweepstakes when they were looking to sign him. There was reports from Georges Laraque, former NHL player, that he believed Brassard was signing a one-year deal with the Oilers, but they eventually lost out and he ended up going to the New York Islanders. Now, I'm not sure how close things got with Brassard, but it does appear evident that they were interested, were having discussions, and were very intrigued about bringing him in to be that number 3 center. Now, the Penguins, who also need to shed some salary, could also maybe send Nick Bjugstad over, who didn't really work out the best, in my opinion, with them in that similar type of role. So perhaps a swap of Bjugstad for Puljujarvi could be beneficial to both clubs. It gives the Penguins enough flexibility that they could give a contract to Puljujarvi, they could sign Pettersson, and it gives the Oilers a number 3 center and slot it appropriately with the right wingers. Very well could work out. I mean, he's had some good time playing with the Florida Panthers, but again, somebody who's not really lived up to their full potential, in my opinion, but he's even been used on the wing at times as well. But a piece that might be intriguing to the Oilers, maybe they go down that road instead. I can't say with any certainty that they've discussed that particular player, but if you look at the rosters, you look at the salary cap situation, and the fact that they have had talks in the past regarding Puljujarvi, to me that makes some sense. So I guess let me know what you think. If the Penguins and Oilers want to revisit their conversations around Jesse Puljujarvi, do you think a Bjugstad for Puljujarvi deal makes sense? Like I said, it gives the cap situation that the Penguins need. It gives the Oilers a 3C, and very well could work out. So let me know what you think, and we'll discuss further down in the comment section. Now, lastly here, I want to talk about some of the NHL free agent rumblings, and that's mainly around defenseman Jake Gardiner. Now, Elliot Friedman recently had a radio hit on Sportsnet where he discussed many things, Gardner being included, and many people feel that the reason Gardner is not signed is that he has a handshake agreement with at least one club who apparently would be looking to make another move before completing the signing. And Friedman was asked about this, and he did indicate that he's heard a lot of the same things from a lot of his sources as well, and that is the belief, but that he believes that it's not the Toronto Maple Leafs that he has this agreement in place with. Now, he made some excellent points that even though Gardner might prefer to play in Toronto, if he's willing to accept a shorter-term contract for less money than he may have thought based on the back injury and how this free agency period has gone, playing in Toronto for the Maple Leafs might not really be a good spot for him to kind of boost his value and to reprove himself with all the other moves that the Maple Leafs have made on that blue line. He feels Gardner very well could get stuck as a third pair guy, have his power play time limited between Morgan Riley and Tyson Barrie, taking up a lot of that power play time. There really wouldn't be a great opportunity for him to really continue proving himself, and that might lower his value longer term for his next contract as well. So even though that might be his first preference, that it might not be in his best financial interest longer term. So therefore, he feels the two teams that make the most sense are the Arizona Coyotes and the Buffalo Sabres. Now, if you look at their salary cap situations, of course, the Sabres have been rumored to be looking to trade Rasmus Ristolainen. We've seen comments from him earlier this offseason that indicate that he would like a fresh start. He would like a trade, but we haven't really heard a lot from the Sabres indicating that they're really 100% looking to do that. I think they would do it if the offer was right. We've discussed it numerous times throughout the offseason. It keeps popping up as something that's being in the rumor mill, different teams being interested, but they've yet to find a real solid fit with another team. Now, I don't have any updates on the Ristolainen situation today, but if the Sabres were to proceed with that kind of trade, then that would free up enough room. It might make enough room on that blue line to bring in a guy like Jake Gardiner. So I guess from that perspective, it does kind of make sense, although Gardner's a lefty, Ristolainen's a righty. But I guess either way, comparable when it comes to dollars and kind of minutes they would play, etc. If you look at the Coyotes situation, now, of course, they're right up against the cap, but one option that Arizona does have that they could deploy here once the season gets underway is they do still hold that Marian Hossa contract, could look to unload it, or perhaps they use the long-term injury reserve option, which the Leafs are going to be doing with Horton and Clarkson. So that's certainly an option. I'll cover the Hossa contract's over $5 million, so that gives them enough space to be able to sign Gardner. If you look at their blue line, I'm not really sure if there'd be a lot of value in them trading one of their other defensemen. Some of them have versions of no trade clauses as well. Maybe, a guy like Chalmerson or Goligoski, but a lot of the guys you look at as potential trade targets would be right shot, not left shot, so not really clear how they would reorganize that blue line with Gardner in the fold, but with the Hossa contract either being movable or on the LTIR, could very well create enough space to make it happen. And I guess they could, look at making other moves beyond that. So I guess to a degree, both of these teams do make some sense based on what Friedman is saying. This doesn't seem to be the ideal perfect fit that's, glaringly obvious where he could play a bigger role. But obviously both of those teams are looking to make strides, get back to the playoffs, get back to respectability here. Both teams had times last year where they looked a lot better, but they also had times where things didn't go so well. And then of course both ended up missing the playoffs. Now, another note here as well, on the Coyotes, of course, with the RFA logjam we're facing this summer, Craig Morgan of The Athletic, who covers the Coyotes, did ask John Chayka, the GM of the Coyotes, about the fact that he signed a lot of his pending RFAs ahead of schedule. We saw some long-term deals inked earlier in the year, and he said basically he'd seen this logjam taking place because there were so many top talented players that were going to be facing, restricted free agency over the summer that he didn't really want to get caught up in that. So he saw the opportunity to kind of strike while the iron was hot and get a lot of these contracts underway, get them signed up longer term, players he believed in, good long-term fair value, which makes the team's cap situation a little bit more predictable, a little bit more manageable long-term, and that they wouldn't really have anything like this hanging over them over the summer, kind of limiting their other moves where a lot of these teams are kind of handcuffed in a way and limited on what they're able to do until a lot of these contract situations get underway, until a lot of these other contract situations get resolved. And as much as I've been a little bit critical of Chayka and a lot of the contracts he's done, some of them I feel were a little bit, a little rich on the long-term deals for these players that are not proven enough in my opinion. But I guess from that perspective, based on his comments, he did have some good points, and it was smart to get ahead of it from that perspective. So let me know what you think down below. Do you see Jake Gardiner landing in Buffalo or Arizona as a team that he possibly has this handshake agreement with? If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.